Speaking of everyone buzzing, like I said, we wake up this morning to a series of tweets from Conor McGregor. And there's a whole bunch of stuff obviously pertaining to the trial that just wrapped up a couple of weeks ago. But there is some fight news, if you will. And so I want to talk about this now, and I want to try to tell you everything that I know about the situation. A quick check. Sent out a couple of messages. Okay, I feel like we are... All right, I feel like we are up to speed here. All right, so it all kicks off with this tweet from Conor McGregor at 4:08 a.m. Eastern Time. That's 9:08 in Edda. The rumors of a bout with Topuria are false. I believe he's referring to Ilia Topuria. I am in preliminary agreements with the Ambani family to face Logan Paul in a boxing exhibition in India. I have agreed. I will then seek my return to the octagon. Shortly thereafter, we got a tweet from Ilia Topuria saying, the rumors of a bout with McChicken are false. I don't fight, nor am I interested in fighting with a rapist. That was at 8:21 a.m. Eastern Time. Subsequently, like I said, Conor McGregor tweeting a whole host of things. He had some more tweets. I was found liable for assault and guilty of nothing. I will be pursuing all defamatory writings about me. I am in amazing spirits. God has chosen me and I accept. I thank you to all those who have looked at this impartially and are supporting me in my fight for justice. The truth shall prevail as God as my witness. That was in the midst of all of this. There's some other tweets from Conor McGregor. I don't know. I think that was it that we pulled from the series of tweets. And so everyone's like, okay, what is going on here? Where I started to feel like there was some validity and something up was when we then saw this tweet from Jake Paul. Not Logan Paul, by the way, who he was talking about, Jake Paul. Now it all makes sense why Conor McGregor and his management team have been desperately trying to get MVP to negotiate for a fight between us. As we told them privately, and I'm now saying publicly, the only way we're willing to explore me versus Conor in a pro boxing / MMA fight is if Dana White / UFC are at the table directly or make it clear they are okay with discussions. Conor is washed, needs the Pauls, Logan buy however he wants. All right, so in the middle of that little tweet sandwich, there's that really important part. As we told them privately and now I'm saying publicly, the only way we're willing to explore me versus Conor in a pro box fight is if the UFC is involved, essentially. And at the top of that, he says, now it all makes sense. What? And so what I'm hearing is what he is saying, there's validity there from his perspective. Then I start to dig in, and what I'm hearing is there's validity to what Conor is saying as well. Does it actually happen in 2025? Who knows? Can it happen? We'll find out. Is there truth to this? Yes, this is a real thing. Now, when I say this is a real thing, let's be very clear. I'm not saying this is a real thing, it's a done deal. I'm saying he's just not, like, this isn't him trolling or pulling this out of his back pocket. It's a real thing that is being discussed. Now, we take it one step further. This family that he is speaking about, we pulled some stats because maybe you don't know who he's talking about or what he's talking about. GC did a great job of pulling some stats. This is the Ambani family. The legacy, if you will, started with, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the names, Dhirubhai Ambani, founded Reliance Industries. Reliance Industries is an Indian multinational conglomerate headquartered in Mumbai. Its businesses include energy, petrochemicals, natural gas, retail, entertainment, telecommunications, mass media, and textiles. Reliance is the largest public company in India by market capitalization and revenue and the 100th largest company worldwide. Mukesh Ambani, his son, is now the president of Reliance Industries, who has a net worth of 96 billion with a B. Anil Ambani is the brother of Mukesh, who has a net worth of 30 million, once had a net worth of approximately 50 billion, but it has gone down. They are ranked by Forbes as the richest family in Asia. So this is a real family with obviously an infinite amount of funds to their name. They could certainly pull off something like this. So now you may be asking yourself, okay, how is this possible? How can Logan Paul compete against Conor McGregor in a boxing match? Logan Paul is a WWE competitor. Yes, he did do the Misfits fight. Conor McGregor is a UFC fighter. Well, then you quickly come to the realization that the parent company of WWE and UFC is TKO. So they're all under the same umbrella. Very easy to get done. That's a thing that I don't think would be a hurdle. It's not like trying to do Mayweather-McGregor. There were a ton of hurdles in trying to make that happen. Mayweather-McGregor was a thing that ended up happening, but it took a hell of a long time to get there. And the main stumbling block, if you will, was UFC and Showtime coming together. There isn't really any of that here. They're literally the same company for all intents and purposes. On Saturday, at the post-fight press conference in Tampa, Dana White alluded to the fact that he had something in the works, something big up his sleeve for 2025. In case you missed it, here's what Dana White said.
I anticipate a lot of big fights. I got something in the works right now. I'll drive you fuckers crazy. All you guys will be running around. I got something in the works that you will never fucking see coming for 2025. That literally started to come together last night, and yeah, we got some fun stuff coming up.
Was Dana White alluding to that fight? No idea. I have not talked to Dana, believe it or not, as of this morning. Maybe we'll talk later today, but I do not know. This would certainly qualify as something kind of out of left field that people would get worked up over. And so that's where things stand. Oh, by the way, Logan Paul reacting on social media with this. Some eyes on his Instagram, his story. By the way, he did that. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Nice little background. I guess he has a good team behind it. But there you go. He's reacting to it as well. Reached out to some more parties, and as of now, everyone is quite tight-lipped. But I could tell you that there is validity here. Does it end up happening? Does it come to fruition? This isn't just a thing that is pulled out of nowhere on a Tuesday morning. And the Jake stuff is interesting as well. Could that happen with his deal with PFL? You know, they're both under the ESPN umbrella, if you will, different than the TKO umbrella, but they have the same broadcast partners. Certainly that doesn't mean that the fight is like a fait accompli. Look at Francis and John, but that's an interesting one. And also, like, the world where both guys, this happened with the Nate Diaz fight, are kind of, I don't want to say in the sweepstakes for the same guy, only leads me to think that one day they're going to fight, the brothers. I mean, if I'm Jacob, say like, oh, wait a second, y'all reached out about this, and now you're going in that direction. Who knows? And then his tweet, you know, who knows how Logan feels about it. There's so much there. But ultimately, as we sit here on this Tuesday, December 17th, there is something to this. And so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it with everyone. Rick, I go to you first. Your reaction, your level of interest in this.
I just don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'll be honest. Like, I'll say, I'm skeptical that a Jake Paul versus Conor McGregor fight could happen, because I don't think that requires, as Jake laid out, the UFC sign off. And I just don't see a world where Dana White and the UFC are going, yes, we're going to contribute to the business of Jake Paul by creating this mega event with Conor McGregor. Now, maybe there's just so much money on the line that the money talks. But I do feel like a Logan Paul, Conor McGregor thing, as long as it's signed off by the UFC and they're partnered with whoever is representing the money in this case, and it sounds like quite a bit of money, I could see it happening. But if it does feel, I'll tell you this, Dana White said something about pulling something out of left field. Everybody's going to be running around going crazy. This would definitely be one of those. On the heels of the news about Conor McGregor and this civil trial, it'd be weird if all of a sudden he was thrown into a boxing match right off that bat. But I mean, at this point, I don't even know. I don't know. I have no idea what's happening.
PT, your reaction. And obviously this is developing, and who knows if it comes to fruition, but as it stands right now, based on everything I just said.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a real thing at all until you hit me with the intel there. I think it's effectively the end of his MMA career if he does have that fight. You know, I think that's the reality of the situation. Like,
why do you feel that way? Because in the tweet he says, "I'll do this and then I'll come back." Why do you think 1 + 1 = 2 in this case?
Well, what happened last time he had a big boxing fight for a lot of money?
Mm-hmm.
It resulted in the downturn of his career completely. And I thought McGregor was generational. You know, absolutely unbelievable fighter. I don't think, you know, with the Alvarez fight, I think people got to see how good he could be to some extent, but I think he had a lot more to give. And I think the Mayweather fight sidetracked him. And every fight since then, we've heard from his camp in the aftermath, oh, the camp wasn't right, this went wrong, this went wrong. I think just his wealth has a lot to do with that as well. I'm not particularly excited about the fight. I understand it would be an absolutely huge fight. I understand there'd be a lot of like gargantuan money on the table, especially when you're given the information you gave about the family that he cited in his tweet. But my level of interest, not really that excited. I think it would be a huge event, though. I think it would be like a KSI v Jake Paul situation where these two guys are so incredibly famous. It would generate a huge audience.
It would. Who knows if it would be Tyson, Jake Paul levels, but it would be one of those events that everyone will ask us about and talk about, and you know that crossover. Who knows where it would air? And
that's the thing. The Netflix component is what made Tyson and Jake Paul so massive. Yeah. If this is just ESPN Plus or ESPN or whatever, or maybe some different broadcast.
Well, there would have to be an international component, right? Because it's India.
Yeah, beyond the U.S., who knows what it would ultimately be, but without Netflix, I wonder if it could encroach that. It would definitely be massive, though. Like the names of all, Conor McGregor and Logan Paul are two of the biggest names that we have in this industry. So the combination of the two would be massive.
GC, your thoughts?
Yeah, just like waking up and reading that tweet, it's pretty wild. Like we're talking about this billionaire family in India, Conor McGregor not coming back to MMA, he's going to boxing, and he's not fighting Jake Paul, he's fighting Logan Paul, and the fight's going to take place in India. It's kind of a lot to process, and it's sort of like I guess I'll believe it when I see it. Like we've obviously heard of a lot of like potential fights for McGregor over the last couple of years. So until something gets really serious, I'm not going to get too overly excited about it, but it is kind of interesting how this lines up with what Dana said on Saturday of like, yeah, I got something that's just way out of left field that no one saw coming that just came across my desk. And obviously this family, if they're really in it, they've certainly got the money to make this happen. So if it happens, I mean, obviously I'll watch. It'll be massive. But for now, I'm cautiously optimistic on it actually happening.
Is your sense, Ariel, that the UFC is aware of this and this is the direction, or is your sense that the Conor McGregor side is aware of this and this is real?
I don't think that he is.
Just going out. I don't think
he's being a renegade here. Yeah. Now, again, I don't know if Dana was alluding to this, but
right.
You think about it from this perspective. Okay, so they make a ton of money when Conor fights, right?
Yep.
And if this family comes and offers them triple that,
yeah,
and just says, we are literally going to pay TKO triple this to take this guy and bring him to India, and we'll make a big to-do, and you guys have to do essentially nothing, right? Like, you don't have to do the production, you don't have to put on the show. We're going to do it all for you. And that's essentially what the deal was when he fought Mayweather.
I was going to say, that was the Mayweather.
That was the beauty of that deal. Yeah. Does TKO say no to that?
Well, here's why. This is what I said, why I don't think Jake Paul would make sense, right? Because does TKO, does Dana White, do the UFC go, yeah, let's do the business with Jake Paul and MVP, or Logan Paul outside that sphere, seemingly a good relationship with the UFC. Prime, I believe, sponsored, if they don't still.
Still do, yeah.
Sponsor with the UFC. It makes a lot more sense from a business perspective. Plus, you are not lending Conor McGregor and his star power to a rival promotion. somebody you have animosity toward in the case of Jake Paul.
Oh yeah, this is a lot easier.
It's
this
such
is
an
a
easy
lot
thing.
easier to make.
Yeah.
I will say though, the one that has the heat attached to it is Jake versus Conor, right? Remember that
100%.
video with Jake sitting, outside his car, and he had the massive cigar, and he was like saying some pretty, offensive things
was
about
talking about Conor's family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one. Like, have Logan and Conor really had like a back
No.
and forth or any sort of history? I always sort of felt like there was a period where I was like, no way. Like at that point when he did that video, I was like, hey, Jake's picking a fight, but there's no way he'll ever get to this point. And then slowly but surely the gap started to get closer, where I'm quite certain in the last year I've said, like, remember on the show I was saying, like, we are getting closer to this becoming a reality. Jake versus Conor. It was never really Conor versus Logan, and maybe we are reaching a point where it's Jake versus Conor, and then it's Logan versus Conor, and then Jake versus Conor, and then and then Conor versus KSI, who he said, what was it about the box of eggs?
Then we're agreeing with me. Then it's over. MMA is over if he goes down this road.
Maybe this is the road, and maybe there's 2 fights left. There's 2 fights left, and there's a big question there too.
Does
right?
that count as one
Does
of the
this
fights?
count as one of the fights? Interesting, right? Because oh God, I just thought of something. What if they come to an agreement? Because I've always said that I feel like they're kicking him down the road to be a part of these TV, negotiations.
Yeah.
What if the agreement is, hey, this doesn't count. We're going to get a boatload. We're both going to make money. We don't have to put up any money. This doesn't count though, and that only delays the 2 fights. So now you're getting him for an extra fight. You're getting a boatload. There's no investment needed. There's no risk needed whatsoever, and you're delaying those 2 fights to back end of 25 and 26. I know a ton can happen there, but it seems like
to make all this money,
seems like a deal that you can't pass up on if you're the UFC.
McGregor feels about his chances against Logan Paul. It feels
probably.
like he thinks he'll walk right through him. So
Right.
it's just like, man, I'm just going to make a ton of money to just box against this guy.
I don't like the exhibition part. Like if we're doing this, let's just do it.
Here's where my head is at.
Yeah.
You're opening a door potentially. If I'm the UFC and I say I'm going to do this, if I'm Turkey, I'm now going. You've set a precedent here. You've decided that you're going to open your doors for business. If I'm Turkey, I now have the entry that I need to make a John Jones versus Francis Ngannou, a Tom Aspinall versus Francis Ngannou, under the banner of a different, let's say, call it Riyadh season event. Not UFC PFL co-promotion, but something where you are lending the talent to. You're now opening the door for that, right? If you are saying we are in business and not everything we do is going, because the UFC has been very good about managing this, right? The only thing, they allow the athletes to do some of these grappling matches, but the only thing that I can think of business-wise that they have had happen on their watch that is even remotely like this is Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, which Conor McGregor kind of dragged them into. Let's call it what it is. Like he forced that by sheer will and star power. If you now open the door, to me that says, okay, there's a price. There is a price that we can be paid to do business. And what would be preventing somebody like Turkey or anybody from saying, okay, I want Francis Ngannou versus UFC heavyweight champion X to happen? To me, that opens the door for that. So it's potentially long-lasting, the effects of something like this.
Let me be 1,000% clear here. I don't think any of us are advocating for this. I don't think any of us are saying this is atop the wish list. So by us talking about it is not us endorsing it. Because I see some people in the chat being like, you guys are hypocrites. I'm out of here. I can't take this. Like, we didn't come up with this idea. We didn't say, hey, let's go on the show today and talk about a fight between Logan Paul and Conor McGregor. They're putting it out there. We're reacting to the news. And so it has to be reacted to because it involves still the biggest name in the sport and one of the biggest names in this sort of, I don't know, combat crazy world that we reside in.
I'm also not convinced it's going to happen.
Like, 100%. All I'm saying is there's something to it. It's not just like...
It's not just Twitter fodder.
I'm fighting... Yeah. So, and by the way, I do want to remind everyone, back in 2017, every single person said there was no chance Mayweather-McGregor happens. Remember that. And so I remember doing that interview with him in Manchester, and this was right after the win over Eddie Alvarez, and I wanted to talk about, are you moving to 45 or 55 or this and that, and all he wanted to talk about was Mayweather. And I remember leaving that thing being like, that was kind of a bust because this is never going to happen. This is a waste of time. And then fast forward 8 months and it happened, and we all know what transpired. So I don't know. I'm not comparing the two, but I'm just saying there was once a time where we said that was never going to happen. Obviously, the circumstances are much different now in his life and in his career, and in combat sports, as Rick was alluding to, like we're now seeing very influential people get in and break all the norms. But I'm blown away that this is a thing. And then when you take a step back and you become unemotional about it, you're like, okay, there's a lot of pieces here that make sense as to why this could be a thing. Quite easily could be a thing. And so let's see. Obviously, there's a big weight discrepancy as well, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Mayweather.
But they got rid of that, and maybe that's why it has to be an exhibition.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Logan is about
Paul's
like
huge.
200 pounds,
Yeah, he's like
if not
6'2".
more, right?
Gigantic.
What does this do for the legitimacy of Conor McGregor's career at this point? If this is his next fight, if he doesn't pursue the UFC, if he's not pursuing top contenders as he said he would for so long,
Yeah.
he's going to fight Logan Paul, a pro wrestler / influencer, a guy who's boxed twice, against Floyd Mayweather, a guy who's much shorter than him, and some influencer. I'm not too sure which one. What do you think what do you think people's reaction to that would be?
I think, well, by the way, as a quick aside, do you think they're going to bill it as like Conor trying to avenge Dylan's loss?
No.
No, I'm kidding.
They'd lose a lot of the
back for
market. immediately.
Like, I'm going to get him. I think it's a weird one because you have the hardcore fan circle and then you have the casual fan circle. The casual fan circle will react to this being like, when is it? And I'll watch it. And I think the hardcore fan circle will have the sentiment that you have, which is like, is this the end? Truly, is this the end? Is there no Michael Chandler fight? Is there no return to the UFC? Is there no last go? Is there no nothing?
I would ask in counter to not in counter to that. In response to that, are there many believers of the Conor McGregor return to MMA at this point, right? When we saw the Michael Chandler fight announced, there were so many people who just didn't believe he was coming back anyway, right? Then Tough happens and they're like, okay, maybe. Then the fight is seemingly announced and the press conference is announced and all these things, and people go, oh, wow, he is actually coming back. But I have seen so much doubt throughout the process. I'm not sure that this like hurts it because I'm not sure that people were starting from that position anyway. Like, I think there's a lot of skepticism, a lot of doubt. Now we have the legal part of this that is potentially in play. I don't know that people are anticipating anything from him. And so this is almost like whatever his next step is, even getting in there would be something that would solidify that in their minds. But that's, by the way, that is not to say I disagree with you in a certain sense that like it might cast a shadow on, is he ever coming back to MMA specifically? But I think there's questions like, is he coming back, period, that have been lingering and lingering and lingering. And so I don't think it dissuades that part. Like, I think it's still going to be there.
So let's see. Thanks for watching this video. Hey, before you go, do me a favor, hit that sub button, give us a thumbs up, hit the little bell thingy as well. Leave us a nice comment or two. We appreciate you all very much.